Central Florida Salute YouTube. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and once again, I'm at Oklahoma at Eagles 4273, and I have an Air Force veteran with me. He also is a city official up in Umatilla, but we'll talk about that later. Scott Blankenship, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? You went in the Air Force.
Right.
And what made you go in the Air Force? Where are you from originally?
Born and raised in Orlando area. So I tell people I was born, I'm from Orlando, BD. And they go, BD? I said, before Disney. So
you're old.
I've been around. I said, I'm getting there.
Yeah, okay, I'm only kidding.
Yeah. But I went in the Air Force. Why? I had families in the military. I just wanted to serve, and the biggest challenge was picking the branch I wanted to go into. I liked aircraft, or the thought of it, so I picked the Air Force.
Mm-hmm. And what year did you go in?
76.
76. So you came right after Vietnam.
Right.
That ended at 75. And
right. And I was in for 5 years and got out in 81.
81. So tell me a little bit about when you enlisted here in Florida. I'm assuming you went to Lackland?
That was the only place to go. Right?
Yeah.
If you're Air Force, that's where you go.
Yeah.
And,
well, unfortunately.
Yeah, the first the career I wanted to look at was a loadmaster. Those the weight and balance on airplanes, but of course that didn't come through, so they put me down to number 2, which was environmental systems mechanic. So environmental systems on aircraft is like pressurization, oxygen, fire extinguishing, bleed air systems, that type of stuff. The environment of an aircraft.
So you had a choice?
Well, you have your wish list when you go see the recruiter. You take your ASVAB or some test you take, and they.
I was a different era.
Yeah. So
mine was
then you have a wish list. You give the recruiter, and he goes, "Well, we'll try real hard to get your number 1." I don't think that happened all that often.
They just say that.
They just say that.
Yeah, they say a lot of things, especially when you get to basic.
But it was good. It was a good. Ended up being a good career field, and there were a lot of different specialties that work on aircraft. But mine was environmental systems.
And what exactly do you do about? And change filters, whatever. What do you do?
Well, it's you have to pressurize an aircraft, right? So if you're flying above a certain altitude, you have to be pressurized, or you can't breathe. So that pressurization is.
You got to make sure the air quality is good.
You got to have hot, cold air. You got to have fire extinguishing systems, oxygen. If you need oxygen, so that was part of ours as well.
Where were you when I needed you? When they sent me overseas in the middle of a tanker?
Yeah.
It was cold as could be up there. And when you get on the ground, it was hot.
Right.
And there was no windows and no.
Right. No flight attendants.
No. No onboard meal or anything.
Right. So it's depending on the aircraft you're working on, it's different. So the first base I went to was Mountain Home Air Force Base.
Where's that?
Idaho.
Idaho.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And they had at the time F-111s, which is a fighter jet.
Yeah.
It had the swept wings the wings could in like a delta format, and I was there for a little over a year and a half, and then I went to Hickam, Hawaii, so Hickam Air Force Base.
Oh, that's had a good duty.
You're at the time I was 18, 19 years old, and you say, hey, got an opportunity for you, but you have to extend your enlistment. I said, for how long? And they go, for a year. I said, for where? And they go, well, for Hickam Air Force Base, Hawaii. I said, well, let me think about it. Yes. And so I spent a little over 3 years in Hickam, and that was different aircraft, C-130s, C-135s.
That's a C-130 you got right there.
Right there, yeah.
You want to hold that up, show it to the camera?
Wherever the camera is there.
They got it.
Yeah,
so
they're still around. They're a workhorse of the military.
And that's the gunship too.
Right. They have the gunships, and those ones that fly around close ground support. I think they're actually based out of Florida, up in the Panhandle somewhere now.
Yeah, I know.
But ours was we did recovery type missions, and the main one was recovering canisters that were dropped from satellites in a parachute. And
you do have a picture of that.
Yeah.
I got to read a little something here that you gave me about this. This program existed 58 to 86. Was tasked with catching of falling stars.
Mm-hmm.
That was it was a camera. Catch a film canister falling from America's first spy satellites. The satellites were part of Corona program orbiting the Earth and took photos of Soviet Union. The satellites were dropped their film canisters over the Pacific Ocean, and that's where the airmen tried to snatch the canisters out of the sky. They're surprisingly low tech. The plane was a large host. Maybe you could talk about the plane itself, but from what I understand, it had a very successful capture, and there was like 40,000 recoveries in 27 years.
Right.
Perfect record.
So of course I wasn't one of the ones capturing it, but I kept, worked on the plane, keep them flying. But I don't know if you can see this picture, but it shows this parachute down, and the 130 is flying over it, and you see the back ramp is open, and they would have staff in there with these long aluminum poles with hooks on them, and they'd be strapped in so they couldn't fall out, and they'd fly right over the parachute, grab it, and then it would be attached to a winch. They had a big winch inside the C-130, and they just, like the little winch you see on a Jeep, these are big winches inside the plane, and they just reel it in. And if they missed it, the 130 missed it, sometimes they had H-53s, helicopters, with the same thing. They'd fly a little lower, and they'd take a stab at it. And if everybody missed it, then they had, Navy folks.
They had the Coast Guard.
Yeah, Coast Guard out there to grab it if it hit the water. So.
Yeah. Well, that was, but nowadays it's changed, right?
I don't think they send film canisters down anymore.
No.
Right.
We have these satellites, right?
Yeah.
I hear they can take a picture of a quarter on Russian soil. That's how powerful these satellites are. So
when I went in the service, like the SR-71 was a big deal at the time, right?
Did you see one?
I did.
I saw it twice. Take off.
Yeah. So actually at Mountain Home, they should come in there periodically. Then the U-2s, that was the old Soviet era satellite. But even with the U-2s, we were told that they could take a picture of a golf ball at whatever thousands of feet and read.
We had a U-tube also where I was stationed.
Yeah.
And you always knew when the U-tube was coming in. Did you see one land?
Yeah, you got to go hook the wheels on it.
Yeah,
right.
Pickup truck takes off, and the guy goes and grabs the wing and puts it on top of the truck, and the other one puts the wheel.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But the SR-71 was a beast at the time, but they've been retired for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years.
Well, that's because of the technology.
Exactly.
It still can fly from the East Coast to the West Coast in a little over an hour.
Yeah, quickly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We had one in the middle of my base, and they had its own hangar, and they had guards walking around it 24/7.
Even at Mountain Home, we were working on F-111s, and but if a SR-71 came in, we weren't allowed. The regular troops weren't allowed to go out there. So they'd land and it'd be escorted in by the security police, and they'd roll it into their own private hangar, and we never worked on them. We never got to touch it. So we just see it land and take off.
Yeah, it was kind of like top
It was
secret.
pretty cool though when you're 18 years old. And seeing that,
I can relate.
It's pretty awesome.
I can still remember.
Yeah.
So did you have multiple places you were at?
The two bases, the Mountain Home and then Hickam, and then after like I said, a little over 3 years at Hickam, I got out. I was at that 5-year point, and that's when either make the decision to stay in or get out. And I decided to get out, take advantage of the GI Bill, so I did that, got out, and started.
Yeah, you went to college, right?
I got my undergraduate here locally at University of Central Florida, and then I went on to work for the Postal Service. Got out, carried mail, worked my way up in that organization, and ended up going to graduate school. Got my MBA at Northwestern University, which is just outside of Chicago. So,
that's great. I tell everybody I have a PhD.
Yeah.
Public high school diploma from Danbury High School.
Well, it's like,
But the military, you learn a lot in the military.
Yeah, it's, I never thought I would have this academic drive, but, Uncle Sam helped with GI Bill, and I took advantage of it.
That's good. So you worked basically on the F-111s, you didn't, and The C-130s, right?
Right, and 135s.
There's a picture of some young guy over there. Who's that?
Yeah, this is the
guy?
only picture I have, you know, that it's kind of a goofy looking picture, but it's my basic training picture. And I think I told you when we talked on the phone that when I left
Looking
Hickam,
pretty good there.
you know, when I left Hickam, I shipped all my stuff from all my worldly goods from Hickam. I shipped it back to Florida. It never made it. Nothing made it. Every picture, every article of clothing, anything I had, it was gone. So
Wow.
never recovered. So some thief has my pictures out there somewhere.
Yeah. We got a fan out there. that
Yeah,
says the
yeah.
guy-
I don't know. I can't remember what was in there, but all I know is I don't have any pictures. Not very many pictures of when I was
So
in.
nowadays you're working up in Umatilla. I always wonder how towns get their names. Umatilla is.
I have no idea. I know it has an Indian root to it.
Yeah,
but,
I've kind of figured it
I'm
did.
not sure
It's
exactly.
like Okahomka is an Indian word too.
Yeah, and I know there's another Umatilla somewhere in the United States, but I think it's on the West Coast. But I'm not sure how.
They all have a meaning. But I always wonder about the one city called Dunedin.
Dunedin.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Are you hungry? No, I'm done eating.
I'm done eating. That's the name of the place. But anyhow,
Yeah.
we got to get back to being serious here.
Yeah, but I'm going in my 9th year as a city manager in Umatilla. Great community. My wife and I love it up there.
Yeah, I tell you what, I like Umatilla. They have the Veterans Village there,
Right.
and my good friend Ike Fritz lives there.
Okay.
Yeah, Ike is he travels all over the country mentoring newly wounded veterans and children and getting them wheelchairs. He is paralyzed from here down, and but a tremendous guy, United States Army veteran. And so I've been to the Veterans Village with Habitat. They're fantastic people. And
I know we talked about Kent Adcock. He's our current mayor.
Yeah,
Now, he retired from Habitat, and now he
I did a show with him years ago.
Yeah, so he's retired, but he's our mayor now. But he was kind of like the ringleader for Veterans Village when it first came out.
Yeah, and he also built the. I didn't even think he built it, but he got it going to the school where they bring in kids from different colleges to help build houses and pick them up. And I did a show when I was with you, Central Florida. Yeah. City of Leesburg. We went up there and I did a show with all these kids that came in from all over, and they would spend a couple of weeks working on houses and stuff.
Nice.
Part of Habitat housing. Yeah, he's a tremendous guy. You tell
Absolutely.
You tell him I said hello.
Very interesting career for him too.
And he was the one that he modeled that program after the hurricane down south somewhere. It got devastated, and he built these. He got these places where people could come in and put beds and stuff and all that in there, and then he brought those beds over here to Florida. Have him tell you that story sometime.
I'll do it.
He's quite the guy, Kent. Yeah. But
yeah. So, but Umatilla, we only have 2 airports in Lake County, 2 paved runways, and one's Leesburg, the big Leesburg Airport. The other one's in Umatilla. So I'm also, besides the city manager, by default, I'm the airport manager. Because we're a small town, you got to do everything.
But that's basically for like Cessnas and stuff like that.
It's
not a long runway, is it? I've never seen it, to be honest with you.
It's like 2,800 feet, which is considered not a long runway, versus Leesburg might be 6,000 or 7,000 feet. But so we have mostly small planes, some small twins. I ended up getting my pilot's license about 4 years ago, private pilot's license. And
do you fly Cessnas, or what do you
fly?
Well,
I've different stuff, but that's what I learned in a Cessna 172, which is fairly common for flight training. Mm-hmm. But we have our local chapter, EAA chapter, Experimental Aircraft Association chapter 1632. We formed in Umatilla with the goal of aviation, youth aviation experience. So we partnered up with the Educational Foundation of Lake County and the Lake County School Board, and we started a program for high school kids. So where they come every Friday, they can do simulators. We have 2 flight simulators, ground school instruction, and they become members of the EAA for free, and they get their first flight for free. And we are building an RV-12. The students are actually building an airplane that we're going to fly out of there in about 6 months from now.
Well, you have to give me a call.
I will.
I'll bring my partner out there, and we'll take a look.
And because of our effort, I think it really was the catalyst to put aviation programs in, I think, all the high schools in Lake County now.
Yeah, they've all got flight simulators,
right,
from what I understand now. Yeah.
So,
which is great.
So we're pretty excited about
it. It gives them a head start.
Well, plus the career field for aviation is huge. Whether you're a mechanic, a pilot, an air traffic controller, I mean, you name it. In aviation, for the next 15, 20 years, the opportunities for young folks.
And I'm sure the Air Force recruiters are looking at a lot of them.
I'm sure they are. I hope they don't lie about what job you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, it's a great community, a lot of support from all the citizens, and we love it.
You have they want to know more about it. You got a YouTube page, Facebook page.
We don't. EAA Chapter 1632. You can find that on the EAA website. And
what
of course,
what does that stand for?
It's an Experimental Aircraft Association.
Oh, okay.
And it sounds like everything's like Wilbur, or Orville Wright type stuff, but it's a huge organization, worldwide, largest I think in the world. Have you heard of Oshkosh, the Air Adventure in Oshkosh?
Oh, yeah.
That's EAA. That's EAA. And so it's grown. I think it is the largest air show in the world.
Great.
So if you've never been to Oshkosh, I'd recommend a visit.
No, I only know that word from my father. My father once in a while said Oshkosh.
Yeah.
I don't know where Oshkosh is.
Yeah.
Where is Oshkosh?
It's in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. And
okay.
Oshkosh, when the EAA is not there, it's not that big of a deal. It's a fairly small town, but when the EAA is there, there's tens of thousands of people. Yeah. So, and hopefully I'll get to go this next year again. I think it's June this year. Usually in June, July.
Yeah, bring some photos back.
But if you go, you get to see all the new aircraft too. If you go to Oshkosh, you got the F-35 and the Raptor.
Well, you gotta have an invite or something. You just don't.
No,
here I am, right?
No, you can go. You pay a ticket. You buy a ticket. You go in. It's like going to Disney World, except it's all aviation related.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. There's a lot going on in aviation. In fact, the U.S. has got the parachutes that going in there.
Right.
And they're doing one. Well, I should mention because I don't know when this is going to come on, but they do a lot around Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
You did almost 5 years, right? Or 5 years?
5 years.
5 years.
To the day.
And I've got your diploma. Now, the question is, it worked for you. Do you recommend it for a lot of your young students?
Yeah, I mean, I'm speaking personally, but I think every young person ought to go in the military. Especially in today's world, that a little discipline, a little structure, might be a good thing for some of our young folks. But
a lot of countries, that's the way it is. You got to, and if you can't do military, you got to do the Peace Corps or something like that.
Right. I mean, do something.
Do something.
But I think I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer when I went in, but it taught me discipline and structure and. It started really a career. I mean, it started, how.
Well, you're doing very well. You're very successful.
And I'm still today, because I was an aircraft mechanic. I think, the attention to detail and preventive maintenance, because you don't fix an airplane when it breaks in the air, right? You don't want it to break in the air.
It's too late.
Too late. So you want to fix it before it breaks, and so that's kind of ingrained in me. I don't care if it's a lawnmower or a car engine or a tractor. I never want it to break. So I'm always lubing, testing, changing, and stuff. So keep it in good working order.
It's the way to be, really.
Yeah.
So
I'd recommend whatever branch most interests you is. I would take advantage of it. I'd take advantage of the opportunity while you're in. A lot of folks we were in, they just went in, they did their job, they did it well, and they got out. They didn't take advantage of some of the educational opportunities, the GI Bill. So it's also another avenue for additional education training for veterans. And today veterans are very, people are very appreciative of veterans, and back in the not Vietnam area, they weren't too appreciative.
Well, Yeah, it was, like we said before, it's a different time. We weren't the most popular when we came home.
Right.
However, when I came home, I worked for the power company. They found out I was a veteran and they offered me a job. There are companies out there, a lot of companies out there that will hire a vet. And that's what they did with me. I don't know if they're happy about it now, but that's what they did.
Well, even in my local government role, I'm a member of this called the ICMA. It's the International City Managers Association. But we have a hire veterans program that I'm on. I sit on that committee. But if I got 2 people, 3 people sitting in front of me, and I'm interviewing a veteran, it automatically raises the bar a little bit, because I know I kind of know what you've been through and what you've survived in, so I already know you got some structure behind you.
And that's the word, structure. Yeah. Discipline and structure, and a lot of people. I needed that when I went into.
Sure.
And boy, did I get it.
That's why everybody should do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I think the world would be a better place, or America would be a better place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And people in power would be better off too if they could relate.
Right.
That's my opinion, but I'm not talking no more about that. Anyway, so you got this airport, and it's basically a private little thing, right?
It's a city-owned airport, municipal airport.
People don't get hops from one place.
No, there's no passengers.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had a private plane, or you can fly in. You come in from North Carolina. You just stop and get fuel. You land. We have a new, they call it an FBO building. I think that's flight-based operations, but it's the building at the airport. Every small airport has one, and we just have a new one that we're going to do the ribbon cutting on here in a couple of weeks. So if you're a pilot, you come in, the weather's bad, you can land, you can walk in, lay down on a couch, get water, go to the restroom, take a shower. We have a courtesy car to get you around if you want to go to town, get a bite to eat. So we have free courtesy cars.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's a very welcoming little airport. And it's got its own little culture as well.
But it doesn't have a Facebook or YouTube or.
No, we don't. We don't do that.
You don't advertise about it, yeah.
No, the way we advertise, we have the cheapest aviation fuel in town. So if you go online trying to get, and a pilot will fly, 100 miles to save 3 cents on a gallon of fuel.
Yeah.
So you got to fly somewhere anyway. You might as well fly to get cheap fuel.
So how many people live in Umatilla? What's the population?
We're about 3,700, 3,800.
That's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're on the edge of the forest, right? So the national forest is just to the north of us. So while growth pressures are real, we're somewhat limited on how large. And I think the community likes it being relatively small.
There's a lot to be said for small towns. Basically when I grew up, we were a small town. Not anymore.
Right.
It just boomed.
Right.
But it's a different kind of life now.
In Umatilla, if you were, we have a lot of multi-generational folks that live there, but it's one of the few towns that you can, if you've been gone for 50 years or 60 years, you come back and look at it today, it hasn't changed that much. You still recognize things. And I know if I go back to where I was raised, forget about it. It's totally different.
It was the same with me. I was in a town, and we were like 3 or 4 miles out of the town. But back then, there was a big fair that they had every year, and they would close the schools for the days, and the kids all got a pass to go to the fair. It was neat. You really look forward to it. Now it's a big shopping mall.
Right.
And the traffic is horrible. But I guess they call that progress.
I guess.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was basically a small town, chickens and all that stuff, But I loved it. I loved it.
We were orange groves.
Yeah.
A lot of cattle, a lot of orange groves in Central Florida.
Yeah, I know. It's got more cattle than Texas, I heard.
At one point it did. I don't know if it does now.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we're about ready to wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm very interested in your little plane project they're building there with the young people.
Well, I'll invite you out.
Yeah, I want to come. I'd like to come see it and maybe film it.
Okay.
And when you get ready to fly it, just give us a call.
Exciting day.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Wright brothers.
Well, yeah, and so it's a student-built plane. So all these 15, 16, 17-year-old young folks are every rivet, every wire, every cable. They're
hope they did their homework.
well, you know, we're obviously they have quite a bit of oversight watching them, but so it's all about education for them.
Yeah, it's got to be an exciting adventure, you know. So, but I think it's time to say goodbye, Scott.
All right.
You know,
Thanks for having me.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, my friend. You know, and I have a way of saying goodbye. I think I told you about it.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at that camera right there, and this is how we do it. So all our veterans out there, active military and their families, we salute you for all you do. Till next time.